Chapter 15. Dex didn't show up in the cafeteria during lunch, and Keith was stuck in detention. The rest of the group sat with Sophie at their usual table in the corner, but Jency was still peppering Bianca with questions, and Marilla was still sulking about whatever it was that was bothering her, and she did not want to talk about it when Sophie tried to ask. Which left Sophie with nothing to do except pick at the weird green food she'd grabbed from the lunch line and stare at the note that the Black Swan had given her. "This is why I miss transmitting to you," Fitz said, making a jump as he scooted in the seat across from her. "Then I could ask you what's wrong, and you might actually tell me." For a brief time, they'd been able to have telepathic conversations, but Fitz was only able to transmit past her blocking because of a crack in the barriers around her otherwise impenetrable mind. Now that her abilities had been healed, they had to talk out loud again. "I could help you, Fitz said quietly. "Not with this." This was a whole other realm of complicated. How was she supposed to figure out if Black Swan had a leak when she didn't even know who they were? The only member she'd met was Mr. Focal, and she had no idea who he really was under the disguise. Plus, she was pretty sure if it couldn't be him, why would he rescue her when she'd been kidnapped? Unless that was part of his cover. "Come on, let me at least try," Fitz pressed. "You let Keith help." "Not by choice." "So what if I don't give you a choice?" he asked, and the glint in his eye made his cheeks burn. She leaned back in her chair. "No way could you ever be that annoying." "Try me." "Aga! Check out the loser table!" A snooty voice interrupted behind her, followed by an ugly laugh. Sophie's hands curled into fists as a tall, bony girl plopped into the empty seat next to her. "You do not have permission to sit there," Sandor snapped, stepping out of his hiding place in the shadows. "I can handle Stina, Sandor." Sophie turned to glare at the girl beside her. "What do you want?" "Oh, I don't know." Stina turned to Fitz with a sly smile. "I'm not interrupting something, am I?" "Yeah, actually you are," Fitz told her. "I was talking to my friend." She knew why he was emphasizing the word, but it still stung, almost as much as the stupid bruise on his wrist. "Yeah, what's up with that, by the way?" Stina asked. "I mean, I understand why these two are hiding over here." She pointed to Jency and Marilla, who were both glaring at her. "They're just as bad as this one." She pointed to Sophie. "But you guys used to be so cool. And now?" She turned to her two stringy-haired minions standing behind her and shrugged, unimpressed. "Do you think I care what you think?" Bianca asked. "You should," Stina snapped. "I mean, look at you. I bet you feel so special now, just because you manifested an ability." "I manifested before you," Bian reminded her, vanishing again for added effect. Stina's jaw tightened, but only for a second. "Whatever. Abilities don't matter as much as people say they do." "Is that what your dad tells you?" Marilla jumped in. "So what if it is? Look at your family. Both parents with special abilities, and you're still at the loser table." "The only loser here is you," Jency grumbled. "Keep telling yourself that." Stina turned back to Fitz and Bianca. "Don't you realize what people say about the Whackers now? They're calling your family traitors." "Traitors," Fitz repeated. "How do you figure that?" Stina tossed her frizzy curls. "Simple. You spend all your time helping out the enemy." Fitz laughed, his scowl fading to a look of pity. "Sophie is not our enemy." "Are you sure about that?" Stina focused on Sophie, the glint in her eyes as cold as a smile. "So you haven't agreed to heal an incredibly dangerous criminal?" "Are you sure you don't want me to get rid of her?" Sandor offered again. "No, I'm fine," Sophie said, her voice echoing around the suddenly silent room. "And Prentice isn't a criminal." "Tell that to the guards at Exile." "But that's not who I meant. My dad told me you're going to heal Finton. And didn't he have something to do with all those fires a few months ago?" "How do you know that?" As far as Sophie knew, all of that information was classified. "I'll take that as a yes," Stina said smugly. You're forgetting that Sophie's the one who helped stop those fires," Fitz asked. "And I'm sure the council ordered Finton's healing." "So everyone knows the councillors don't know what they're doing. Not since she came along. They need to replace like 60% of them." "That is enough!" All heads turned toward Dame Elena, who was striding towards Sophie's table. Her ruby-encrusted gown swished with every step, and was the only sound in the room. She cleared her throat when she reached the table. "Miss Hex, slanderous statements against the council have no place at the school. I know what I heard, and I will not allow anyone to disparage our leaders. or one of our most prominent noble families, under my watch. Is that clear? Steen asserted, her beanpole body almost as tall as Dame Lena's, but she didn't argue. She didn't agree either. She just motioned for her minions to follow her and stalked away. "You've earned yourself a week's worth of detention," Dame Lena called after her, "and you can count on me notifying your parents." Sophie doubted Viscount Timken would care. She'd heard them say even worse. "All right, show's over," Dame Lena said, clapping her hands and ordering everyone to get back to their sandwiches. "And Miss Foster," she added loud enough for everyone to hear, "if anyone says anything like that again, I expect you to tell me. Same goes for all of you." She waited until every prodigy nodded. "Good. Now eat up. You need brain food for all the learning ahead of you." Sophie usually dreaded the long walk across the campus to the twisted gold and silver towers that housed the elite levels, and her afternoon sessions, but it was a relief to get away from all the stares and whispers that had followed the lunch incident. She wished Fitz and Biana could do the same, especially since it was her fault they'd been dragged into the drama. Then again, they didn't have to endure 2 hours of linguistics with Lady Candence. The session was an elite subject, taught only to prodigies in the 8th and final year at Foxfire. But since Sophie had discovered that she was also a polyglot, able to speak any and all languages on instinct, the council had decided she needed to start her training early. They'd also given her access to the usually restricted Silver Tower, even though she was too short to lick the DNA access strip on the door and had to wait outside for Master Leto, the beacon of the Silver Tower, to let her in. "You kids always need me right when I'm sitting down to lunch," he complained as he stepped aside to let Sophie pass. She'd barely taken 2 steps before he spun on his heels, his long silver cloak swishing as he slammed the door in Sandor's face. "I love how he looks ready to strangle me when I do that," Master Leto said, laughing to himself as he led her to the other side of the low-ceilinged foyer. Balefire cones bathed the silver walls with their blue tint, and the lone statue of a silver unicorn, the level 8 mascot, seemed to stare at them as Master Leto placed a silver beacon badge against a small black sensor, releasing a hidden compartment full of cloaks. While Sophie was in the silver tower, she was expected to dress like one of the elite. So she grabbed the silver cape that had been shortened just for her and clasped it across her shoulders. "I heard you had some excitement today," Master Leto said, checking his overly gelled hair before pressing his palm against the wall and opening the hidden doorway to the main tower. "I've been telling Dame Alina for months that she needs to run those levels with a heavier hand. Perhaps now she'll be willing to listen to me. You'll find no such issue here. The Silver Tower is under my control." Sophie would have loved to believe him, but when they entered the amphitheater-sized common area filled with bookshelves and chandeliers and plush silver armchairs, she could see someone waiting for her in the mostly empty room, impossible to miss at the base of the silver spiral staircase. Prentice's Son by